Hello, hello, everyone. I think I'm down to recording every time, which is making me rethink how I do this. I'm always thinking and tinkering, so bear with me with that. I do have a process for today. So welcome, welcome, wherever you're from. And I'm always curious who's tuning in, if there's actually, but I don't see any other participants have hopped on. Things have been rather busy for me these days and probably will be for the next couple months as I'm just starting to be in the process of moving and so forth. So let's get into today's practice and our activity. I have my handy notes, and I actually did some of this activity beforehand because I want to have examples to show you as well. So today is August 12th, 2026. Of course, if you're catching this in our time, don't worry. Yes, it is specific to today in some ways, because I always try and tie things into what I feel is the energies. But I am willing to shift this quite a bit too, because I'm very curious if those who tune into this or watch these, what sort of themes would you like to see? What sort of processes and over what themes that you can bring into your home and use expressive arts to help you. The way I've been looking at this these days, because we all have busy lives, is that I would like to see this kind of practice as a way to give yourself space, bit of self-care, but also to serve reconnect with what's happening with your inner self. And I think that's why I have it every couple weeks or loosely every couple weeks. I tied it to moon cycles because I felt like this I can manage my schedule. And also I felt like it was nice markers for myself. Um, but as it has progressed, it has less and less to do about moon and more about marking the time. That said, today is also a solar eclipse day. There was a full solar eclipse that was more visible from Iceland, Europe, and along those lines. Yes, I have some chalk pastel on my hand. And it's also a new moon, and we're in the sun sign of Leo. And these provide an interesting conjunction because I think Leo is all about being seen, creativity, putting yourself out there. The new moon is all new moons are about starting. What do you want to start in this cycle? And eclipse is very much about being seen and not seen, and where the shadows was concealment was emerging, much like the moon covers up and hides the sun, and then it slowly reemerges. So I thought I'd play with that a bit today. A lot of times I do give, I guess, a meditation or a visualization. I did not prepare one specific for today. Um, so I'm going to throw in a mention. If you happen to listen to this, like in the next day or two, I will mention that tomorrow I have a pre-recorded session, an expressive arts process based around loss. That's on the Health Evolution Summit. That's going all week. And it's free. You can buy into it as well if you want to keep the recordings or they're finding helpful information. My dog is coming for some attention because it is. You want to say hello, Gaia? Um, it's starting to thunderstorm. I can hear the thunder in the background. It hasn't started here yet, but she's afraid. So we're going to have her company here while I do this. Where was I? Good thing I wrote notes today. So, oh, sweetheart, she's shaking. Let me go through this. So, I'm looking at this as a time to pause and to really connect. And I think the purpose of this is to pause and have something that people can do that's creative, that's fun, but also gives insight. And I know from years of facilitating expressive arts workshop that inevitably I always hear by the end, at the beginning I didn't really understand what we were doing. And then at the end I was totally blown away. And I've experienced that over and over and over again. I think there's only like one workshop that I was trying out that was brand new that didn't land so well. And occasionally I'll have a client in a location where I run these on a regular basis where they felt like they didn't like the shifting between modalities and or there's people that are afraid to put themselves out there for the processing and the aesthetic response. But those who stick it out find it incredibly rewarding. So I am sharing that and I'm letting you know that you can find this for free on the Health Evolution Summit. You can buy into it if you want to keep the videos. There's a lot of practitioners. They're talking about AI, they're talking about mental health, they're talking about weight loss, they're talking about emotional well-being. There's I was part of a demo with brain spotting with Shari. I think her last name is Lindenberg. And part of a panel on mental well-being. So thought I'd mention, as I said, it's only on till the end of this week, so until August 14th, so a couple more days. So I will make sure there's a link with this and I'll try and post it sooner than later. Okay, let's get into the process for today. I'm just going to say, if you haven't yet, let's take a moment to ground. Just breathe in and be present. And just let yourself be. Notice where you're sitting. Let yourself be supported. And just notice how the cool air is entering your body and where it travels to. And to pause before you release it. The warmth as it travels up, as it passes out of your body. And pause before you breathe in. So our first step today is we're going to do some writing. I have a couple prompts. So the first one is, what are you ready to loosen your grip on? What's been something that's you've been hanging on or trying to keep in your life or keep structured in, and you're like, I'm outgrowing this. It's time to let it go. And the second question is, what wants more room to live through you or to emerge in your world? So as I've been doing these pre-recorded videos, I've been saying, pause here, go back, re-listen to the questions again if you need, and pause and give yourself time to write. I would say 5-10 minutes. Give yourself time to write. And then after you finish and you feel the writing's complete on the two questions, what am I ready to loosen my grip on? And what do I want more room? What wants more room in my life or to live through me? So after you finish that, unpause, come back, and I will have the next step. So I hope you've written. And I know that in preparation for this, I actually wrote some as well. And we're going to move into art making. And what I'd like you to do is take out your colors, your crayons, whatever you have handy. For this process, I use a mix of colored, I'll just show them, colored markers. So I have a whole bunch of markers here. And I use my chalk pastels. I really like working with chalk pastels. And I find there's a lot of versatility with them. Of course, you could use watercolors, you could use acrylic, whatever you feel like or whatever you have handy. It could be your children's crayons, whatever. It could be a black and white sketch for this one. It doesn't have to be color. So, and it could be like just your basic printer paper, could be art paper, whatever you have handy. So the first step is create something that represents a part of your life or yourself or your experience that feels unseen. And give yourself about 5 to 10 minutes again until it feels complete. Does not need to be perfect. It definitely doesn't need to be a masterpiece. This is something that is like, could be just scribbles. It could be completely abstract. It could be stick people. whatever speaks to you and is meaningful to you. So at this point, I'm going to encourage you to pause again. And when you have completed making this piece, which is create something that represents a part of your life or yourself or your experience that feels unseen, and whatever that looks like, then you can restart when you are done. So I hope you're coming back and you've just restarted after pausing. And you have an image. And I actually ahead of time drew this image about a part of my life that feels unseen. And I think there's like, I feel like sometimes my life looks like it's a sunny tree that's well grown with flowers all around. And I feel like that actually is like how things sometimes appear from the outside. And then there's the inside and what is may or may not be seen very well. So, what I'd like you to do is consider what if this is not the final version of yourself? And I have a few examples of this. Um, So let me tell you the options or ideas for options. If you have a different idea, but you feel like it is in the same um, theme, in the same sort of energy and spirit of this, go for your idea that I did not mention, because that's completely good. It's more the fact that you are working with the image you just created and that you're going to do something with it. So what I'm wondering is what happens if things are altered but not erased? Right? So, like today with the eclipse, the moon altered the sunshine and altered our experience of how our world all around is being seen. If you've been present during a full eclipse, it's like this weird shadow comes and the lighting is very different. And that happens over a couple hours. And then the lighting changes and it returns back to normal in a way. So, I want to give you some ideas because that's like where the sun was seen but not seen and then is seen again. So here's some options with whatever drawing you came about what is not seen. Is I'm curious about like how can it become seen but not seen? So you could like have your drawing and then draw something on the back. You can fold it over or fold it in different ways. If you're creative with paper folding, it might be that. You can tear it into pieces. That's kind of what's appealing to me today. And then place it, rearrange it, and then restructure it. Maybe put on another piece of paper to do that. It could be covering up portions, maybe with something else, another paper or another piece. It could be drawing over it. It could be turning one element into something else. So maybe something happens to the tree or the flowers or the roots or something else happens. So I draw something else over it and it transforms it into something else. It could be outlining something that wasn't previously seen very well. So maybe it's bringing, I have like these sort of almost spidery eye-like things here in mind. So maybe it's doing something to bring those out more or adding something unexpected. So I'm going to give you before I let you, you could dive into it or you can listen to this part. If you dive into it, stop, pause, and restart. And for those who want to hear this little piece, I'll share this piece and then you can pause, draw your drawing, and then come back again because there's another part. So I want to give another few examples that I've actually been doing in my own art over the years that are examples of this kind of altering your art. So this one is a particularly dear piece to me. And actually, I'm going to start at the back because if you can look, you see that this is actually paper on a harder piece. And it actually started out as one piece that was smaller. And I believe, because it's been some time since I've made this, I know that these were part of an original, actually tree-like thing. I do trees a lot. And I cut it up and they became the butterfly wings, but they were actually something before that. So I had a first piece, then I had the tree piece, then I cut it up and I built it into here because there was actually something there. And then I added um, this butterfly woman and I drew the background for it afterwards and the lily. So, and then see, even this part was a cutout piece and it was glued in and restructured. So I want to show like things can often evolve over time, or I have like there's a piece I do, then I bring it back and it gets incorporated into another piece. All is process of the art making. Um, Something also done quite some time ago, but this was actually all playing abstractly with yellow, orange, and red. And then after I put in, I started outlining lines, and then I realized at a certain point I felt like it was two humans, and it was like this family kind of picture. But the family came afterwards. That was not the intention. It was just other things that then became this. And I want to show you something that's been in process. Sometimes it's in process for some time because this was trying to remember which way it originally went. Originally, I think it was this way. I don't know if that's what it's going to be. It was something totally different that I called emergence. And now I started painting. And then when I flipped it and I've started bringing out what I've seen, I felt there was an eye shape in here. So I started darkening the eye and the mouth part here. And if I look at this, there are different things where I feel, I'm not quite sure, but like there's certain, like here, I feel like there's another eye and mouth thing that's coming out. And there's something else that maybe could be brought out here. And it depends what you see, right? Or maybe there's like almost a phoenix-like shape here. So I want to explain some of that. So I encourage you to work abstractly as well, because sometimes in the abstract and just choosing colors and moving in the markers or crayons or whatever you're working with to move them in the movement of what you feel unseen is for you, or yeah, and to play with it. And I think that's the most important thing with all this whole process is to play. So again, I'm going to encourage you to pause and rework what the first piece of art is in whatever form that you'd like it to be. Again, give yourself, I'm thinking this might take a little longer. So instead of 5 to 10 minutes, I'd give yourself 10 to 15 minutes, but really whatever time. If it goes really quickly, go really quickly, right? It could be just simply you decided to add something, right? And it became something else. Actually, behind me, that started off as a trace of my foot, and then it became this seahorse, or many people have different ideas about what the actual image is, but and different things are seen with it in different ways depending on the eyes. And you can emphasize different parts. Um, so pause and restart after you've completed this section and this process. So now we're at the last section of our process. And I have some questions for you to ponder. And you might want to write about it. And I'll give you an idea with the writing that you started with. So after you've completed reworking your original piece and altering it, but still there, I'm really curious about how you see what changed, about what is unseen and now possibly seen. And I'm wondering if there's anything that disappeared. I'm wondering what remained. And I'm wondering what has become possible because you changed the image. And of course, my last question, which I always like asking, is were there any surprises? So journal on those, write on those. And then when you have all your writing complete, what I encourage you to do is to go through your writing, circle out words and phrases that really appeal to you, and then write them just, you can write them in order and see if that makes sense, rearrange them if needed, add like conjunctions or change like tenses of words to make it make sense. And out of that, you'll have what I call a thrown word poem. And I really would love at the end of the day is if you could share your thrown word poem. If you don't feel comfortable sharing it with a larger group, because I've been trying to encourage people to share on the Soul Nurture Project community page on Facebook. I may rearrange that in some ways for various reasons. Um, but you can share it with me and I will give you my static response. The point in sharing with the community is then you get a whole bunch of eyes on it, not to criticize it, not to say, oh, that doesn't look like anything, or that's like a stick person, but more, what does that image that you created, perhaps poem that goes with it, evoke from to the viewer? So I often suggest to people who are viewing these creations, what title would you give it? What did it make you feel, or how do you relate to it in your own world, in your own experience? And a little assurance, I still moderate everything. Everything gets held until I approve it. So just so you know that it's done, so it's controlled and it's meant to be safe. So I thought I'd add that piece in too. So I hope you enjoyed today's process. Finish up your writing, and I would love to see what you're creating. Bye for now.